Understanding the climate crisis. Let's begin with a brief overview of climate change. The environmental crisis manifests in various forms: rising global temperatures, melting ice caps, rising sea levels, extreme droughts, wildfires, and torrential rains in different regions. These events impact not only the environment but also society and the global economy. Many people wonder if these phenomena are part of the signs of the end times described in the Bible. 2. Humanity's responsibility to care for the earth. Genesis 2:15. Starting with the book of Genesis, we read about creation and humanity's responsibility for the earth. In Genesis 2:15, God entrusted Adam with the role of cultivating and keeping Eden. This task given to humanity represents God's intention for creation to be preserved and cared for. From the very beginning, humanity was designated as the planet's steward. Unfortunately, over the centuries, humanity has drifted away from this purpose. Instead of protecting and conserving creation, we've exploited and worn down the planet. Deforestation, pollution, and unchecked consumption are practices that contrast with the original mandate of care and responsibility. What we see now in climate change and environmental degradation may, in part, be the result of humanity's negligence. So, as Christians, we cannot ignore this responsibility. We need to ask ourselves, to what extent have our actions or our neglect contributed to the crisis we're facing? And what can we do to correct our course? 3. Prophecies and signs of the end times. Matthew 24 and natural disorder. In the Gospel of Matthew chapter 24, we find a passage describing the signs of the last days. Jesus mentions earthquakes, famines, and plagues as part of the events that will mark the end of times. While the term climate change doesn't appear, we can draw parallels between these natural events and the current ecological imbalance. More intense storms, earthquakes, prolonged droughts, all these phenomena can be seen as signs of creation in turmoil. It's as if the world itself is, in some way, suffering from the consequences of our irresponsible actions. Nature, which was once balanced and harmonious, seems to be responding to human abuse and exploitation. Does this mean that climate change is a direct sign of the end times? Not necessarily. But many scholars and theologians believe that the state of disorder and suffering on earth may align with what Jesus described. Nature, as it rebels against human actions, gives us a preview of the chaos that may characterize the final days. 4. Romans 8:22 and creation suffering. In Romans 8:22, the Apostle Paul gives us a powerful image. The whole creation has been groaning as in the pains of childbirth. This groaning of creation is interpreted by some scholars as a reflection of nature's condition under the impact of sin and human exploitation. The earth is suffering in a way as it awaits its redemption and the final restoration promised by God. This concept connects surprisingly well with the context of climate change. Creation seems to be crying out because of the effects of pollution, deforestation, and unchecked exploitation of natural resources. When we observe phenomena like rising temperatures, increased natural disasters, and species extinction, we can see nature in distress, as if it's crying out for help. Paul describes a creation eagerly awaiting its final restoration, just as we all are. While we await redemption, our responsibility is to minimize creation's suffering. We must work towards restoration and care for the planet so it can be in better condition until the day when God renews all things. 6. The promise of restoration. Revelation 21 and the new earth. Despite the problems and challenges we currently face, the Bible ends with a message of hope. In Revelation 21:1, we read about the promise of a new heaven and a new earth. In the end, Creation will be restored and both humanity and nature's suffering will cease. This promise gives us a reason not to give up but to keep fighting for the good of creation, knowing that God has a perfect plan for redemption. The hope of a new creation is a reminder that, despite today's problems, the final word belongs to God. We know He will restore all things and that nature will be renewed alongside humanity. Even so, as we await this renewal, we are responsible for caring for the earth and alleviating creation's suffering. It's an act of faith, obedience, and love. Conclusion. As we reflect on climate change, we don't see it merely as an environmental problem but as an opportunity to re-evaluate our attitudes. We can choose to live more consciously and responsibly, caring for creation as a reflection of our faith in God. If you enjoyed this content, leave a like and share in the comments how you view this issue. As a Christian, what is your responsibility towards the environment? Subscribe to the channel to stay updated and see you next time.